World. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relates to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Progressive Mind Show. We are live in the studios here in the beautiful city of Chicago. My name is Sena, aka Alinko, and I will be hosting this show with my co-host Michelle. Before I introduce Michelle, today is April 27, 2022. It is Wednesday, and we are glad to be coming on here to serve our community. Today, we'll be talking about credit and wealth building. If you just joined us, we wanted to encourage you to share the feed on Facebook and on YouTube. We want to apologize for the late start in the show. Before we go to the Captain Mike segment, Michelle, today is going to be an interesting one as usual, right?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting right into the discussion and learning from our speakers today.
Great. Today we have awesome speakers. Jeff BADU is not a stranger in our community. If you don't know him, we're going to be learning a lot about wealth building, entrepreneurship, and all of that today with Jeff. Our next guest is Joe Gathering. He'll be with us in a very short moment. Captain Mike is still here. Looks like we have a little technical glitch. Hopefully, we should have that taken care of. Captain Mike, if you're ready, please take it from here.
Well, all right. Well, just had to switch to a new device because I'm not trusting this other one. And
okay.
We'll start off with the weather. You got me?
We got you. It's just a little still.
All right, we'll start out with the weather. Right now. Okay. At Midway Airport right now, we're looking at 46 degrees. Winds are out of the east, 15 miles an hour, gusting to 20. And got some showers maybe later tonight, and we'll go through our forecast, what we're looking at for the rest of tonight. Low of about 37 degrees, winds out of the east, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow, some rain, high 50, low of 37. East winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Friday, some rain. We're pretty much going to keep the rain and clouds all week. Highs in the lower 60s, maybe peaking out at the 50s and into the lower 40s. And possibly up to 55 next Wednesday. The best day of this week, we're going to have 68 degrees on Saturday. That's going to be our warmest day. But, at least we're not going to have any more snow. So we're pretty much done with that for the rest of the week. Looking at sports right now, the White Sox finally won a game, 6-3 over Kansas City. The Cubs are playing Atlanta tonight, starting soon, and the Bulls will be in Milwaukee starting really soon also. Well, looking at our health and fitness report, there are some ways we can make our allergies even worse. So now we know that in spring and summer, that's allergy season. So what do we do? Some of the things we do to make things maybe a little worse for us to avoid. Now, one, wearing the same clothes that you wore outside to the inside. Take off your shoes, especially because they do track allergens inside, and change your clothes as soon as possible. Two, opening your windows during the peak allergy times, pollen count times of the day. Keep those windows shut and keep the air conditioner on. Shower once you get inside, or at least before you go to bed. Don't take those allergens and pollens to bed with you. Drinking alcohol. Drinking alcohol does increase your nasal allergy symptoms. It increases blood flow to the nasal lining, so thus making you more susceptible to your allergies. 5, eating certain foods. Certain foods mimic the proteins that are in the pollens and allergens. So if you have a reaction to certain foods, take note of that and talk to your doctor or your healthcare professional. There's certain strong perfumes and colognes. So if you feel a strong reaction to someone's perfume or cologne, take note of that also. And lastly, don't skip your allergy medicine. If your doctor pharmacist recommends you take allergy medicines for your symptoms, make sure you stay on them. Or if you think you need to change them, talk to your doctor or pharmacist. And don't just arbitrarily stop using them. And with that, Sina, we're going to go back to you.
Thank you so much, Captain Mike, as usual, for giving us this important updates. You know, one very important thing is among the all the things, the good information that you give us. One thing that I struggle to do is that taking off shoe before you get in the house, that type of thing. I'm not able to. I'm not able to do it. Michelle, I don't know how difficult that is for
Oh
you as
my God, that is a rule in my house. You will get beat up. You past my 4 year with shoes on. It is an absolute disrespect to me, and it's disgusting because
Yeah.
literally your feet have been on the ground. People spit, they even defecate on the ground. Now you're tracking that into your home? No, 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 no. Big, big no for me.
wait. So people, so you take,
Yeah.
so you have all your shoes in front of your
Have a shoe rack. Literally, if you bump into the door every time you try to walk out my front door, because I have a shoe rack literally at my front door
Yeah,
where
yeah, just absolutely. Like she's saying it, almost
and
every karate dojo is the same way. So we don't want, let's say,
right
Michelle
by
to
my
beat us up. So follow her lead. Take those shoes off.
yes, I
Hey,
move
Home.
my sneakers twice a week. So that's
Jeff, Jeff, how what about you, Jeff? Do you leave your shoes behind the door, or you bring that? So, Misha, you're saying don't you have yours right in the room though, not outside the door, right?
no, not right outside the door.
That's what
No.
I'm
I
saying.
have
Yeah.
a rug. I actually have a rug that I only step on
Mhm.
with my shoes to take them off, and then I put them up on the rack
Okay.
on my shoe
Okay.
rack.
That makes sense. Jeff, you do that too?
And I have
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much, we have a rug that we put all the shoes on that we come into the house with. So, yeah, I'm
Well,
with Michelle on that one.
I
thank you.
guess we all have rugs then.
And those rugs need to be washed too. Like I wash my rugs every week.
Ah,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot that part. They have
My
to be
friends
washed.
tell me they know you're cleaning, aren't you? Yes, I am. I always say.
Wow. Okay. Come to Mike. Thank you so much for providing that information. We're looking forward to see you next week, Wednesday, same time.
keep the outside out.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the day, evening, and looking forward to it. So, Captain Mike, thank you. Well, just give us his segment. We'll go right into the conversation. Jeff BADU is the CEO of BADU Tax Services. He is a parallel entrepreneur. And somebody asked me, what's the difference between parallel and horizontal or something? That was a very funny question the person asked me. I'm going to get a actual question. But, Jeff, you are very welcome. I think this is the first time you are getting on the Progressive Mind Show since we went virtual, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
correct.
yeah. Many years ago,
Absolutely.
we had the physical radio station, and
Hmm.
we were doing our thing. And good to see you. Good to see you progress to the company and the man that you have become. So I'm really proud of everything you have achieved for yourself and for the community, Michelle. We again, this one should be very good. We're expecting a lot to read, to learn a lot when it comes to finance and wealth.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm very excited, by the way. Thank you for having me.
Great, and just want to inform our guests that Joe Gathering will be here with us very soon. Michelle, you want to take it from here? I don't know what if you're expecting anything else apart from trying to see how we can make some more money and build generational wealth.
Yes. Well, I know last week we talked about homeowner assistance.
Mhm.
A lot of people have been impacted, unfortunately, by the pandemic, as well as businesses, right?
Yep.
Everyone is trying to, I'm sure, leave a legacy for their family. So
Mhm.
tell us about what you do and how you help families cultivate, and build wealth.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely appreciate that, Michelle. So essentially for me, my name is Jeff Badu. I am a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I was born and raised in Ghana, which for those that don't know is on the west side of Africa, and migrated to the US when I was 8 years old. And ultimately, fast forward, was able to go to college at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in accounting. And when I was there, I was building my business plan, today known as BADU Tax Services LLC. And that's our CPA firm. That's our tax firm that does tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the US. And we also have clients that are in over 25 countries at the moment. And so, while building that business plan, I started gaining a passion for financial literacy, right? Teaching people about money, how it works, how to save it, how to preserve it, and how to ultimately multiply it and create abundance for yourself. My purpose in life is actually to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle, right? So, in a nutshell, what I do is I help individuals and businesses, pretty much see a bigger potential, right? See more than what they could have ever imagined. And I've come out with books such as Infinite Expansion, right, which goes over the 12 steps to creating an abundant lifestyle. So for me, what is it that I do? I'm a parallel entrepreneur and I'm a wealth multiplier, and I help people essentially create abundance in their lives.
Great intro. Thank you so much. We have our next guest, Joe Gathering. He is the executive vice president of the company that he's currently at. Is also someone who has a lot of information and experience in wealth generation. Joe Gathering, we are very pleased to have you on the show this evening.
Absolutely. Hey, how everybody doing? Everybody good?
Yeah. So Joe, we just got through introducing Jeff. Can you give us a little background about who Joe Gathering is?
For sure. Great story too, Jeff, man. Definitely love your energy. A little bit about myself, guys. My name is Joe Gathens, and a little bit about my background. So prior to this opportunity, I was a truck driver, right? So I made some pretty good income. I was extremely blessed. I really enjoyed the trucking industry, if it makes sense, but I didn't value, what I didn't like about it was that I didn't like the fact that I didn't have control of my time. Right. So it was those times when you be out with your family and friends and you out having a good time thinking about work tomorrow. That was me. Right. So then what happened was my spiritual mentor, who I've respected a great deal, brought me an opportunity to really dive into the financial literacy industry, which lines up with what he was just talking about. Right. So then what I did was I dived into the financial literacy industry, and we started a huge movement. And everything just from that point just really changed my life. So when you think about what I do a little bit of trucking, I do a little bit of real estate, but also my flagship, if it makes sense, is financial literacy, and really putting people in position to gain understanding of like the credit industry. Right? Really putting a lot of people in position to gain their buying power back, because there's so many people. You got about 112 million people with bad credit. You got about 63 million people with less than a 699 credit score. So once I found that out, I felt like the game was over with. So then, of course, a few years into it, became the first millionaire in my family. And all I do now is just duplicate that, right? Just making sure that everybody got the same opportunity to be just as successful. We got a huge movement where we obviously, keep God first and making sure that everybody understands that it's not necessarily about, what you know all the time. It's who you know, right? Because we all know people that go through life trying to figure out how, right? How to be successful, how to win, right? Things like that, how to lose weight and stuff like that. But truthfully, what I really admire about what you guys are doing right now is if everybody just switched the subject from how to who, everybody life goes to the next level, right? Just change it from how to be successful to who already successful and they already know how. It sped life up. So that's what we got. We got a huge financial literacy movement. Man, it's really changing our lives, man.
Thank you for giving us a great background of who Joe Gathens is, and thank you for the correction in the pronunciation of your name. I had it in it. I was butchering it all along. So my I'm very interested in knowing the correlation between credit and wealth, because as an African, I didn't know anything about credit until I came here. And so, of course, the Africans in the diaspora, we appreciate, we talk about, we know what credit is now to some level, to a certain extent. So Joseph, Joe, you give us that background. But Jeff, can you give us the correlation between credit and wealth and how significant these two work together?
Yeah, I mean, credit is everything, right? Without credit, you don't really have much, to be honest. I mean, you could use other people's credit, but it makes it a lot more tough. So when it comes to wealth building, for me personally, along my journey, the only way I was able to build a six-figure car rental business while alongside my tax business was through credit. I was literally was able to go to the dealership and say, "Hey, I want this car with no money down, right?" Or, "Hey, I want it with 1,000 down or 2,000 down." And if I had poor credit, let's say I had something like below a 600, they wouldn't have given me the car because they wouldn't trust me. And now that sets me back from building wealth all of a sudden. So, well, I mean, credit is everything. In order to buy a house, right? In order to buy a real estate rental property, you do have to have decent credit. Now we've been able to get our rental portfolio to 126 units, for example. There's no way we would have been able to do that without having some type of decent credit. It doesn't have to be perfect credit. It don't have to be, in the 800s or anything like that. Even in the mid to high 600s is good enough, right? Try to strive for a 700 at least. But I would say in the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, credit is everything. It is literally everything.
Thank you. Michelle, I don't know if you had a question for Joe, because Joe gave us a lot of information that I wanted to follow up, but I know you probably have some follow-ups from him or Jeff.
Well, earlier, and this is for Joe, and thank you, Jeff, for your comment. You gave the statistics of those in America who are dealing with bad credit. Do you mind breaking that down a little bit more for us and how that can relate to our audience?
Yeah, for sure. So with credit, guys, I mean, like Jeff just said, it's such a necessity. And he gave an example of unless using somebody else's credit, which means that guess what? You still needed credit. It was just somebody else's credit. So it just lets you know how powerful it is, because even if you don't got it, you went to somebody who got it. So it's still it comes down to credit. But for me, right, I love everybody, just so we clear. I'm not racist at all, just so we understand it. But what I did was I looked at the credit, right? I looked at the whole overall thing, right? And I realized that African Americans and Hispanics got the lowest credit scores out of any other race. So for me, that was a big problem, because here we go, we compete and everything else. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very competitive. I just like to be good at what I do. I want to make sure I'm doing my very best. So that's how I really fell in love with it, Queen. I fell in love with the fact that I know that if we could just change this number. So now what you have is, because that number is so low, we the first ones to get fired, the last one to get hired. Like he was just saying earlier, you don't have access to capital that other people have access to. You don't have access to other people's money to just forge yourself ahead. So when you think about the credit scores, like he was just saying, guys, when your credit score is lower, that means that it takes you longer to get to certain things. That's why so many of our people end up falling to like a regular lifestyle or below it, right? It's because we tend to run out of willpower, right? Because if you got good credit, right? Let's say, for example, you get you 4 loans, 25,000 here, 25,000 there, 25,000 there, maybe a credit card with no interest rate and stuff like that for 12 months. That's 25,000 you got to play with. I'm just kind of give you guys an example. That's $100,000 that I just showed somebody that you can get just from doing what? Signing your name, right? Now, how long is it going to take somebody to save $100,000? Right? So now what happens is you got somebody trying to save 100,000, willpower runs out. Work ethic, they start to be content. They start to settle in life. Somebody else originally had the dreams and ambition to be the exact person they want to be, but they had also access to the money. So now they can speed life up. So it looks like it happens overnight. It looks like all of a sudden this person just had access to money that somebody else didn't have access to. They had access to different tier banks and stuff like that to build relationships up with. And I always tell people, for me, credit is about relationships. I'm trying to pass this thing down as a legacy. Whatever relationships I built up with banks, I want to be able to pass it down to my son, and he build those relationships up so he can pass it down to his son. You know what I'm saying? So that's how important credit is. So when you're talking about 43 million people with less than a 599 credit score, you got 63 million people with less than a 699 credit score, and you got 112 million people that just got bad credit in general, right? Who just need help all over the country. So I just fell in love with the fact that I knew that this was something that was so important, like he just stated. And what better way for me to come in and be a live example, knowing that at some point my credit was terrible. I was at the bottom, so I could relate. I had a 545 credit score. And like he said, once you start to climb into them sevens, and now it's just a score that you're keeping. I was able to get my score up to 840. That's why I can tell you guys, I know what it's like to have a 545. but I also know the difference when you walk somewhere. I'm sure he know the same thing. When you walk in there with a high credit score, it's a whole nother level of respect. Go place, they should be like, Joe. Now I go places, Mr. Gathens. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different people. So credit for me is really about relationships, it's respect, and it's about having options so nobody can really get, kind of left behind on purpose.
It sounds to me kind of it's like your reputation on paper, right? It's like a reflection of your character in a sense, of your business character, or how you transact business as a functioning member of society, right? So if we look at it kind of like a resume, I think that could really be a shift for us, as a collective, and how we perceive that. I too had to have that shift. I'm grateful, to make that shift. But I think what you just said is definitely key.
And I would say before you marry somebody, you should probably look at the credit report.
Ooh, come on, Jeff.
That's a great statement, Jeff.
Jeff. Jeff. Come on, no. Come on, you can't just mute yourself. You can't drop bombs and mute yourself. Say it again, Jeff, because you're right. So
yeah. I mean, basically, if you talk about when someone is about to get hired, the resume gets looked at. So before you marry somebody, one of the things that you should probably pay attention to is your partner's, credit report or credit history, because, once you guys get married, it's one, right? So if there's bad history, that can come on you, so it's just something to be very, very cognizant of.
Even some employers will check your credit too. I've had positions where you have a lot of responsibility with a lot of inventory or something very valuable that you may work with, and it can really actually hinder you from getting employment. And I was grateful my credit passed. But, for some people, that is not always the case. Joe, have you seen this? I see you shaking your head. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
A lot. I mean, and not to really put a specific company out there, but I'm talking about a company where it's like career, like you really going to school for this, right? I personally know because my mom was actually in this company, right? So this company, right, when I tell you, they literally they make you go through the process. You got to fill out the application. You got to take tests. So I'm kind of throwing some hints out there, right? You got to do some running. You got to do some physical activity, right? And then what happens is it still comes down to a point of, can we trust you? So what happens is they put those people on the waiting list. So this one company had 3,500 people on the waiting list. You got to remember, guys, this is a career that people are anticipating. So when they hear they're on the waiting list, they automatically going to register that what? I got a job coming. But nobody's going to pick up the phone, Michelle, and be like, hey, listen, your credit bad. This is the only reason why we're holding your application. No, what they're going to do, they're going to have you on the wait list 10, 15 years, and then they're going to do what? Hire people who's qualified right now. Because it doesn't matter what type of person you are. It doesn't matter how well you grew up, your prayer life and all that stuff, right? So that's something totally different, right? Because now you're working with miracles. But we talk about for the person that just really just came into this thing to get a career. Now what's happening is you're not getting jobs, or watch this, when companies cut back. Jeff, you know what I'm talking about? When companies cut back, guess who they cutting back with first? People that are like the work ethic, and then they're going to go with people that what? We can't trust right away. Immediately. I'm letting these people go. So we got to think bigger than just getting a job. It's to be able to get it and then be able to be like one of the last people to go, because I may be a great person. I may be, I may have great work ethic, but it's a company thing and we can't blame them, right? Because you own a company, just like Jeff said, you don't want to even marry somebody who got bad credit, right? So that's how they looking at it. Like, man, we got a business to run. We got to cut back. So on paper,
yes,
got to get rid of people that we feel that we can't trust.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm saying? That's how deep credit could be. Yeah, 3,500 people, guys. 3,500 people on the wait list for a career. And nobody's telling them that that job is really not yours. But you home, you celebrating, you anticipating that phone call because you know I done the running, I done the physical stuff. But Michelle, it's not happening.
So now you have bad credit. You want to get married, but you can't finance a ring. You can't finance a house, right? Or really even get a job to provide in some career paths for that very reason, So, and I think that systemically speaking, especially in our community, and like you said, you broke down the numbers and the demographics of those, groups of people, which is our community included, that have these bad credit scores, right? So imagine the impact of how it can really impact a person's trajectory and their potential and quality of life too, right? I mean, if you're not able to finance a car, you're on public transportation, it's going to take you more time to travel to a job that may not have the benefits that you really need to thrive, because you can't pass not just you pass the background check, but you can't pass the credit check. You know what I mean? So that's something that's, I think, is just such a very vital, important piece of information, especially for our young people who are still starting off in life, who are starting college. I know, I'm sorry, not trying to take over the conversation.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. It's very important.
Yeah, I was a college student on campus a couple years ago. And I, would get recruited for credit cards. And a lot of my counterparts would as well. And some of them really ruined their credit because at the time they didn't have finances to pay their credit bill, and they just didn't understand their responsibility and the impact, of missing those payments and how it could really, impact their future. So.
Wow, this is very, very deep. You are watching the Progressive Mind Show. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. We're talking to Joe Gathins and Jeff BADU of BADU Services. This is wealth, credit, and wealth building. We're talking about generational wealth as well. We will be going into that a little bit more. If you have questions or suggestions or comments, you can feel free to share them on the feed. And we will be reading them out. So far, we have Rebecca and Barbara on the feed. Thank you so much for joining. Please share the conversation as we engage. This is very, very important. So, for people who are listening who do not know how to go about it, because between Jeff and Joe and Michelle, you've said a lot about how credit affects you in every sphere of life. But a lot of people still don't get it. I mean, people who are parents who have young ones, they might be working on their credit, but how do you make sure that your child, who is probably in high school and about to go to college, gets a start, or at least has the mindset of being cautious of their credit, so by the time they get to college or after college, at least they're not, they have an idea and they're building off of their credit, in the right, building off their credit to help them give them a good start in life. Joe, if you may.
For sure. So the first thing I will always say is the best thing we do for the kids is not just fix the parent's credit, make sure the parent understand the process. You see what I'm saying? Because it's one thing to fix the credit and then they go get a house, they go get a car, they don't understand the process. What happens, guys? They end up with bad credit again. So all they do is tell their kids how to just go to this guy or that guy, right, to get their credit fixed. So that's one of the things that we do. And how we do it. We don't just fix credit. We make sure that everybody's educated in the process. They get their own website, their own portal. They get to click on different videos and all that stuff to embrace the moment, right? To really get involved. The second thing that I always recommend is even when I'm talking about, this is just a habit that leads up to having great credit, right? It's just making sure your kids get things early, like saving habits, right? Understanding budgeting, all this stuff matters. So now when it's time for them to get to their lifestyle, it's not like a shocker. I mean, because you got to think about it. Some people got to be reprogrammed when they're older to get rid of bad habits because they were used to getting in and spending. So now it's like this heart attack, right? When it comes down to really try to do what's necessary to make sure that you build that financial portfolio and have a good credit. One of the things that I always recommend is that, like, for example, guys, I tell people this all the time. There's credit cards out here right now that you could put your family on right now. I'm talking about, you got credit cards out here that you could put your child on at age 0. You see what I'm saying? Capital One got a credit card. Age 0. By the time that child is 18 years old, guess what? They got 18 years of history, right? That's already added on their credit because they're piggybacking off of their parents and stuff like that, right? Then of course, what I always tell all the parents, not only leverage that, but understanding now, putting your kid in a position to start off with some secure credit cards, like low tier things, is just to build up the habits first. Then what happens is now you got the 18-year history, you got a few of those little low tier credit cards, and then they get to the point where now they're able to go out and get credit cards with higher limits, right? I remember having credit cards with $300. Now I got credit cards with no limits. Jeff know what I'm talking about. There's credit cards out here where, listen, you can swipe and get a house on. How did I was able to do that was that I had to start off with those low tier, build those relationships up with those banks, and then now not only your credit score going up, but what you got is you got the knowledge, you got the habits, you see what I'm saying? And then now you got credit cards to do what? Put your kids on. So now it's generate. See what I'm saying? Now we break a generational curses just by making sure that we at least got that piece together in a process of understanding that, when your kids get to a certain age and they go out and get their own apartments, guys, understanding that apartments, your place of rent, right, can be added to your credit profile, right? That's another form of, adding some additional history. So those are a few things that really come to mind right now when I think of it, just educating the parents understanding, putting yourself in a position to get a credit card, because I hate when people say, tear the credit card up. I hate when people say, get rid of the credit card. Credit cards are one of the most permanent things you can ever have on your credit, right? You pay off a mortgage, Jeff, no, that mortgage is gone. It's gone once it's paid off, right? The car, when you pay for the car, guess where it goes once it's paid off your credit, right? So all these things are removed off your credit. So all of that history you just gained, it looked good until it's gone. Credit cards, you can have that thing on there for 100 years, and that's what you want. And you can pass that 100 years down to your kids, and you see what I'm saying? So that's why I always tell people, credit cards, you just got to be responsible. You got to get people away from that. I know a lot of people don't know. I'm like credit card king, right? Because I know that if you do it the right way with discipline and making sure you're passing it down, they understand the habits. Man, credit cards can take a lot of people to the next level. The relationship, the amount of money you can get from those credit cards and stuff like that, but also how you can, have your kids piggyback off of that.
Wow.
So that's kind of what comes to mind right now.
Is there a way you could be a little more specific? So I know some people may know about trade lines, some people may not. Is it in the form of making your child an authorized user, and you put a letter on file that says you want them to inherit that credit line, at your passing? The proper way? What is, I know what I do, but what is the proper process for that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you could build a relationship up with a credit card company, right? And then now what you could do is based on first of all, what I would do is I'll tell them to ask that particular credit card company what age can they add their kids' credit on, right? Because all credit cards have different age limits. Then what I would do is I'll make sure that before I add them on there, that they didn't have any trouble, no history, none of that. My kids, because remember, it's a positive account, right? That can either affect in a good way or a bad way. So as parents, you have to also understand that, listen, before I put them on this credit card, let me make sure that this credit card was something that was positive the whole time, right? The utilization is on point and everything like that, right? Because now when I add my kid on there, they're going to benefit either good or bad for everything that I've done. But what I would do is I always tell my parents, I always tell my clients, it says, once you do add your kids on there, here's what you want to do, right? You call the credit card company, you give them your children's, identification and stuff like that, the information they require. Make sure that child doesn't get a credit card. Request they don't get like the actual credit card, right? You can request that because you don't want the child to get the credit card and then they go out there irresponsible and they make decisions, right? Because they got a credit card and they don't understand the game yet. You tell them that, listen, you don't want the child to have a credit card. I just want to add them on, like you said, as an authorized user so they could benefit. They could piggyback off all the good that I've done. And that's how you add your child on your credit card. But what I like about that too is this, Michelle, now that child has a relationship with that particular bank already because of the parent. So now when it's time for them to go out and get their own credit card, you follow what I'm saying? Now they're going to look at the history. They're going to look at the relationship. That could be the difference between somebody getting a $500 credit card and a $15,000 credit card, just off the relationship that the parents did. So that's why it's very important as parents that, listen, before you throw your child on that particular credit card, make sure that you're good. Make sure that your utilization is down. Make sure you don't got no late payments so they don't negatively affect your child's credit. and
Wow.
then from that point, you just play the game.
That is very powerful what you're sharing, and it also speaks to the power of the credit card and how it helps you to build your credit score. But knowing this now, I mean, of course, we've all known this, but sharing what you're sharing, for those who may not know it, and for, of course, the some of the folks in the African community, Jeff, you and I know that we we understand, what, to some extent, the importance of credit card. But I think for most Africans, our basic understanding of credit card is that yes, I use it to pay for something that I probably didn't have the money for, and then when I pay it off, it helps my credit. How important? But the reality is that we tend to use our debit card more often than the credit card, which we should be using, Jeff. Now, I mean, I've been saying this as an African. You can help me attest to this if I'm right or wrong. And if it's so, uh, can you advise us on how we can consistently use our credit cards to the benefits of our own wealth generation or wealth building?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll speak from my own experience.
Hmm.
So basically, for me, every expense goes to a credit card, like everything, travel, right, eating out, food. Let's see, buying like a laptop that I need for the business, and
Hmm.
ideally, you want to use the business credit card over the personal credit card so that you can, be able to claim it as a business expense on your tax return, which effectively lowers your tax liability. One reason, so there's three reasons why I personally do that. Number one is it helps me build my credit profile,
Hmm.
whether it be business credit or personal credit. When I swipe the card for something I need, and that's the key thing, something I need, not just lavishly spending, right? Buying Gucci belts, Gucci shoes, stuff that you don't really necessarily need
Hmm.
unless you're at that high level. And even if you're at that high level, some people don't even do that,
Mm.
you know. And so that if I'm buying, let's say I need to buy, some ink, for example, for a printer, I'm going to use the credit card and then I'm going to literally pay it off either the next day or the day after once the balance shows up on my credit report, or I'm sorry, the credit card, login. And the reason why I do that is because I want to keep a utilization rate of close to 0%. You know, the lower the utilization rate on your credit score, which is one of the five major factors of your credit, the lower the utilization rate, the higher your credit score, the more lenders will trust you to, you know, um, basically take their money. The lower your interest rate will be. And overall, the higher your chances are of getting approved for credit. All right, so that's number one reason. Number two reason is that it allows me to get points, right? Cash back. You can get up to nowadays like 5% cash back just for spending money you already were going to spend. For example, going to the grocery store. You got cards like the Chase business credit card, the Business Inc. Or if you're on the individual side, they have the Chase Freedom card, for example. Right, you can get 5% cash back in different categories, and that's going to allow you to build points. Can you imagine getting paid for something you're already going to pay for anyway?
Mm.
I mean, that's insane. That can be used to travel for free. So you got to get very, very strategic. I do understand some people, like, if you don't have the discipline, sometimes you're like, oh, let me just use my debit card, but it's really hurting you financially because you're missing out on points. You're missing out on building a good profile, a good history. And I would say the number three reasons why I like to use the credit card is because for budgeting purposes, I know I'm only using one or two cards. So my budgeting software, I just have to link that card or those two cards, and it pulls all my expenses, and I can use it for my monthly budgeting essentially.
Mm. Mm. So, to that point, how would you address people who are into multiple cards? Credit, they got their personal bank credit card, Capital
Mhm.
One, Capital Two, Capital Three, Capital Four. I don't. There's no Capital Three, Two, and Four, but I'm just making this up. And Jeff, can you? I want you to ascertain the point that I made earlier. Is it true or false that Africans, we tend to swipe our debit cards more often than credit card, even though the credit card is what builds our credit?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes, right? Africans do definitely tend to use the debit card over the credit card. And I mean, part of it is because, number one, a lot of us are first generation. So we're the first ones in our family
Mm,
to come to America. So we may not understand the credit system.
mm,
Nobody really sat down and talked to us. However, if
mm,
you are listening to this and you now understand the credit system
mm,
and you still don't act, then it's like shame on you,
mm.
Like knowing that you can build business or personal credit using a credit card. There's no reason not to use it as long as you feel you are responsible enough to be able to pay it back, pay it off
Mm.
within, a few days, or at worst by the end of the month, by the end of the statement period. And I would say, I mean, me personally, I only use at most two credit cards.
Yes.
At most two credit cards. I tend to like the American Express, right? The Platinum.
Okay.
That's more the business card.
Mhm.
And then the Chase Ink. I like the Chase Ink only for places that don't accept the Amex. So I tend to walk around with two credit cards, and they're business credit cards because I'm a business owner. For those that are like, 5, 10 credit cards, to be honest, I do have more than 10 credit cards, but I only use two of them.
So you take the credit cards, you have the money sitting there, but you're not using it.
Exactly. It's only for emergencies, and it's, when a lender's looking at my profile, they're like, oh, he has all this available credit.
Mm,
It's there, right? He's not being charged any interest.
mm.
He's looking for a car loan. He's looking for a mortgage. If he's not able to pay the mortgage, well, common sense would probably tell you that he can probably pull some money out of that card and perhaps use that to cover an emergency, right, of the mortgage or the loan.
That's a good one. So you can definitely go in for more, but just be wise about it. And I think what happens a lot of time within minority communities is that now that we have access to several cards and there's excess disposable income. That's not income, but disposable
Credit,
expenditure. Was the term, Jeff?
disposable, call it disposable credit, leverage.
Or
Let's call it
disposable
leverage.
purchasing power, right? Once we
Exactly.
Okay, good. Once we have that, then we the Jeff and Joe, maybe you can address this. Why is it so important for Black people or minority for folks in the minority communities to keep buying and buying? Why do we have this tendency to spend so much when our income level or our wealth level is not there? Because I see people spend and go to certain restaurants and buy certain things, and I'm like, wow, I wonder the kind of job you do, So why do we have the tendency to spend more than we earn, so to speak?
I mean, I think it's ego and pride is one,
Uh-huh.
right? It's we've historically, and the funny thing is we actually really haven't historically been always down. For example, there's figures such as Mansa Musa,
Mm.
who used to rule the world basically. He's the ruler of the Mali Empire.
Yeah.
And at the time, the Mali Empire basically was the wealthiest empire that there was. And so, there is a notion to think that we've always been behind historically, but it's not actually true.
That's true.
It just happened, unfortunately, after, the slave trade and, took away some of the resources that we had.
Mhm.
Very, very unfortunate. But all that to say is it becomes a sense of pride. It becomes a sense of ego in a way, in that I have to spend lavishly to prove to the world that I'm worthy. I have to spend lavishly because I see different artists on social media.
Mm.
I see, Lil Baby. I see The Baby. I see Chief Keef. I see all these people spending lavishly because they have the money. Why in the world can't I spend my own money?
Mm.
And they don't really understand that they're doing that because number one, they can, right? Number two, they're doing it for marketing reasons too. Like, for some of them, in order to get more business, in order to get more shows, in order to get more, contracts and agreements and endorsements, they kind of have to show a certain status. But then the average layman will look at them and say, hey, I want to marry this person. And now you go broke, you go in credit card debt, you have to file bankruptcy because you just couldn't keep it together. And that's why you should never live above your means. Instead, live within your means. And if you want to live above your means, find somebody else to pay for it.
Hey, Joe, speak to us, man. Speak to the urban communities and with regards to why there's no need for us to be splurging. Give us your personal experience and give us your perspective on this.
For sure, man. I think Jeff did an amazing job. And just to piggyback off of that, I truly believe that they also right. I'm talking about just as a community. I think it's because they just really don't understand. Right? It's gonna always be a lack of anything where there's not clarity. You see what I'm saying? So if people really understood how to really live that life by doing these steps and this step, and then what that looked like, because you've compounded success. You've compounded credit, you compounded investments, and now you can live that life. That, like he said, that Gucci shoe, that Louis Vuitton purse, that Louis belt, that can come off of income property where you're not spending your own money. But if we don't let them know that, hey, get your credit fixed to go get assets, and some people don't even know what assets and liabilities are. I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and he was like, "What is that?" I heard it before, but once again, he didn't understand it. So it's one thing to say it, but then it's another thing to make sure that you add. That's why I'm really big on education, guys. I'll sit and I'll break stuff down to somebody, and I just want to make sure that when it's all said and done, I tell people this all the time: whether you do it here or wherever you do it, as when you talk to me, you're gonna get this work, right? You're gonna understand it because that's the blessing for me. But I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like he was talking about, is that people just truly don't understand. They don't understand where we come from. They don't understand how to get to where they need to go. So and then the process, so that they can live their lifestyle, because then they get to the point where it's nothing like we like to call it pajama money, right? That money you're making when you're sleeping, that money you're making off investments that you made. Now you wake up, you go to sleep. Imagine going to sleep. I just want everybody to visualize going to sleep and waking up, and the money you made while you were sleeping covered that Louis purse because of the investments that you just made. You see what I'm saying? And now we have that concept, but I'll tell people all the time, it's people that act like they do this, and then there's people who really do it. And we just got to make sure that people understand the difference between the two. And then also, I think another perspective, right, is that most people, right, I mean, when you're talking about Africans, right, like in this age, right, they never had nothing. You know, you're talking about ghettos, you're talking about inner cities. So at some point when they get a taste of that first career job, right, they think, they making some good money, 70,000, 80,000, whatever it is. Now they feel like I got to catch up to all the stuff I didn't have growing up because I don't understand. You see what I'm saying? So now I'm trying to go a little bit too fast, too soon. Oh, my bad. We good?
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So now what happens is we actually get caught up in now living check to check because we didn't understand stuff. You see what I'm saying? And then last but certainly not least, I think a lot of times what happens is, believe it or not, is competition. Competitive, trying to be better than somebody else versus like, listen, if somebody's doing better than me, I feel like you can pour into me. If somebody's doing less than me, I feel like I can pour into you. If everybody look at it from that perspective, it's just like you said, live below or within your means, and then invest and invest and invest, and then you'll realize everybody, your life will bump up every year. I tell people all the time, you come back next year, like this year, you didn't do something right. Everything should be going to the next level. A personality change, personal development, your income, your credit, whatever it is, right? Everybody just visualize, man, if I could just compound success over and over and over again, I could live the lifestyle that Jeff was just talking about, but it's not coming out of my pocket. It's from stuff that I invested it in. And now I can duplicate this because I can live this life for the rest of my life. Now, watch this, y'all. That lifestyle that you were once trying to live above your means, like Jeff was just talking about, that's a daily act. That's daily for you now.
Yeah.
That's now you somebody I was just talking about. Now that's really what you do. But you got the education and you got to understand it to pass it on as a legacy instead of people out here acting like they really do that.
That's very powerful. I'm sure Michelle has a follow-up question, but Jeff, you made very powerful points with regards to Masa Musa, and just tying it to the Black people, where we come from, who we are, and all of that. And Michelle and I were talking about a show that we're trying to do here to basically help us understand as Black people the richness of our culture and our heritage. And so once we get to understand these, I think we will do better. And Joe and Jeff, I really appreciate it. Jeff, I would like you to. Joe made a very great point about assets and liabilities. It sounds like Mary J. Blige singing in a lot of people's ears. Assets and liabilities. What is that? So, I would have you break that down for us, Michelle. Before that, Michelle, I don't know if you have a follow-up question or comments.
Just in pertaining to what you just said, Joe, you said a lot. So thank you for that. To me, it sounds like being able to have good credit could really be not only a safety net, right, for us, but also really a real pathway to lead to entrepreneurship. And not just that type of entrepreneurship that requires a lot of labor intensive work, right? But more so, like you said, on the investment side. So if you don't mind, and Jeff, please step in as well. What are your investment? I know you said that you've done some real estate investment, but what are some things that maybe people in our audience can just start with? You know about the credit cards. Let's just say that they're ready to invest. What is the easiest way to introduce them to that?
Jeff, you want me to go or you want to go first? What's up? You let me know.
Yeah, I'll go real quick.
Like Jeff want to take this, yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, it all starts with the best investment on the planet is in yourself, your education, your mind, right? That's all it starts with. It starts with reading books. It starts with, just being around people that are educational by nature, right? It's by listening to shows like this. Ignorance is no longer an excuse, right? We refuse to accept ignorance as an excuse to wanting to learn more, to be better. It just won't cut it anymore, right? It was acceptable maybe like before the pandemic, but nowadays, if you're still ignorant about knowledge and education after the pandemic, knowing what happened or what could happen, I mean, it's game over basically. So you got to invest in yourself and your education. Me personally, I've created a website called jeffbadu.com. Once again, jeffbadu.com. It is a free site, tons of resources, 90% of which are 100% free. You can learn, you can educate yourself, you can watch videos, read articles, listen to my podcast. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there. You get educated, you take notes, and then you want to learn, you want to start practicing. Like maybe you want to do some mock trading. I mean, in general, one of the best, if you're talking about pure investments, outside of yourself, is the stock market. I tend to like the stock market. It's pretty easy to learn, pretty easy to understand. Hey, you buy low, sell high. It's best to be a long-term investor. I actually have an article directly on that website, jeffbadu.com, about the stock market. So one of the best investments to start with is the stock market. You probably want to get into like an index fund to start with, like an ETF called S&P 500 Index. One specifically is called SPY, right? SPY is the ticker symbol. Very, very stable investment to be in. Very, very stable index. And then they also have sites like Acorns, right? Acorns, you can literally start off with saying, hey, I just want to put $5 a day into an investment. Or I got $100. I just need to put it somewhere real quick. And they're going to invest it on your behalf for pennies on a dollar pretty much. And you have full control over it. You have an app that you can view how much money you have each and every day. So it all begins with education, but I would say the stock market tends to be the investment I recommend starting with. It makes sense. It's easy to understand, and it's very, very transparent as well.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Joe?
Yeah, and I agree with Jeff. I'm gonna lean a little bit more towards the real estate, right? And the reason why is because I've witnessed, right? So like he said, everything he said was on point, right? You got to invest in yourself, because if not, none of this makes sense, right? If you don't got the confidence to take the next steps, if you don't got, what I'm saying, blueprints and all type of things to actually apply this stuff, then that's why stuff like this is important. So like he said, investing in yourself. But I think one of the first things too for me was the first thing I did was invest in real estate by making sure that I got rid of money that I was spending. So what I did was I purchased a multi-unit, right? Because I knew right away that this is going to bring me money. So what I did was I bought a 2-flat, right? I duplex, the first floor and the second floor. I mean, the first floor and the basement, right? So it felt homey for me. I moved in it. So guess what that did? Well, that freed up money because now the second floor was covering my mortgage. Does that make sense, guys? So now what you got is that's one investment you just made because now that mortgage was, $1,800 or something like that. That covers that. The upstairs covers that. So now you got $1,800 back in your pocket every month because you were willing to go pay rent somewhere, right? You were willing. This is stuff people are doing anyway. So that's why your credit is so important. So you can go out and then now you go get you some income property. But what if it's a 3-unit? I just did the 2 because that was where I was at that time. I probably would have went 3. I would have got 3 because then that third floor would have covered everything, right? The utilities, all the little stuff, the taxes, the grass getting cut, and all that stuff, right? But understanding for me that was one of the first things that I always recommend is to go out and get you some real estate because now you're basically living for free, and now that's, believe it or not, that's income, right? Because even if you start a business and you paying rent. Right? I mean, think about it, right? You're taking money from the business and now you're going to pay rent. So if I could live for free, look at all that money I get back. And then now I can play with other people money, like you was just saying, right? Rent coming in, that's done. Now I'm actually working with actual money as I earn, and then of course I would also recommend starting your business. And for me, I like, for example, with us, right? Starting something that makes sense. Right, I'm a huge fan of going with something that people need. That's why I got into the financial literacy business. I'm sure Jeff did the same. That's why I got into the credit business. I'm sure Jeff did the same because it's something that people need. You don't have to sell it. I just get paid to educate people, right? And now you got the credit, you got the understanding of financial literacy. You know how money works. You living for, you know what I'm saying? You living rent free. You got additional income. You can do what? Go into some stocks like Jeff did. Now what you got is you got a solid base to where you living for free now. Now it's peace of mind knowing that I've covered the foundation, so I'm not worried about living. My groceries covered, my living, my car note is paid for. You see what I'm saying? Just by the foundation. Now I can go get rich by compounding, going a little bit more aggressive with stocks and investments, stuff like that, expanding my real estate portfolio, investing back into my business to brand myself, right? For all types of paid ads and marketing and things like that as you go deeper into it. But we got to make sure we cover those fundamentals. And that's what Jeff gave you. And that's what I just gave you, the foundation. So, at least I got peace of mind. Does that make sense?
I wanted to jump in and say too, to speak to that. I think it's important. I know I'm a parent, but I wasn't necessarily, my generation didn't necessarily have parents that really believed in kind of educating us in that sense, right? Probably because they may not have known, or, it could be even a sense of selfishness where it could say, well, you need to actually find your way like I did, and so how do you, deal, or how do you handle or help parents who are, really wrapping their mind around setting up their children early and making sure, like, I have friends that have help their child purchase, multi-units right out of college or, while in college, and I think that that's an amazing, amazing demonstration of how we all should be passing on those blessings to our children. But what are your thoughts on that when you speak with parents?
Me personally, I'm a spiritual guy, so I'm always going to go to like what it says. It's written that you should leave a legacy for your children, right? So I'm thinking as a parent, like it shouldn't be no competition. That's your legacy. That's the one thing that somebody could brag about for the rest of it. I mean, just think about it, right? I can always brag on my parents because they gave me the best that they had. My job is to be better than them. You see what I'm saying? And save them any way that I can. So I think as a parent, if we all wrap our minds around the fact that this is my legacy, right? This is the one thing. And then if you think about it, right? If you've been a great parent and you set your children up the right way, you have no idea the blessing that those kids will want to give back to you when you get older. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want me to be poor. You don't want me to be just trying to come up, right? When you need me the most because I can't afford those bills. I can't afford to bring you to this big nice house and have you stay in the coach house and I come check on you. I can't afford to have certain things set up for you. Like one of the best things that my parents gave me was the work ethic. One of the things that they gave me was that, hey, listen, ownership is important. They didn't know enough to say what business to go into, but my mom and dad had the understanding of like, okay, at least become a boss. And what they did was it opened up. So because my mom gave me that and my dad gave me that, I was able to then come back and retire both of them 2 years early for my mom, 3 years early for my dad. So you know what I'm saying? Because as a child, that's like your legacy. So now they can live a life where they can wake up when they feel like it, be healthier and stuff like that. And then guess what? Everything that I learned because they gave me the mindset is what I teach them now. So now what they got is they got financial literacy. They got good credit. My mom is making residual income when she's not working, right? So it's just a peace of mind. So parents, trust me, you don't want your kids to be broke when you're older, because when you need somebody to be there for you, if they ain't got no money, if they broke and they living check to check, guess what else they're gonna be? Stressed out. Your conversation, you're gonna be irritating to them. They're gonna be upset. It's like, you ever seen a child just mad? Why? Because I'm frustrated with life. My parents need me right now. It's not a good feeling. But if I'm at peace and I'm financially secure and I'm healthy and I'm happy and I know my parents need me, that's a different conversation now, because I could pull up, Michelle, with a whole nother energy. And if we need to do something, it's nothing, Mom. That's what I got credit for. That's what I got money for. That's what I got a business for, so that we can do this the right way.
Wow. Beautiful and great, wonderfully said, Joe and Jeff. We really appreciate you all for giving us the information you've done. You've given us so far. It's 7 minutes past 7 p.m. Central. You're watching the Progressive Mind Show live here on Facebook. We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter as well. We're currently being carried by Afro Star radio station. It's an online radio station out there on the East Coast. It's also an Pan-African radio station, Pan-African radio station on the East Coast, and we are being carried with on that set right now. We're also working on other syndications. We will take a quick break, which will be on some of the things we're talking about, right? Something that Jeff mentioned earlier about Africans, global Africans, understanding the power and the richness of our culture and where we're coming from. And so once we begin to understand who we truly are and where we're coming from, I think that it unlocks that power, and we will be able to do some of these things that we have been craving for. And it's powerful that we're having this conversation. So if you're watching us, we encourage that you share the feed so we can participate in this conversation. We have a ton of feed, a kind of comments in our feed that we will be reading very soon, but we'll take this very short break. When we come back, we will go into that. I want us to watch this video real quick. Now, part of what we're going to be talking about is the event that is coming up this year, and it's called the exchange ceremony. So here is the exchange ceremony. It's basically bringing the African diaspora together to celebrate our culture and our humanity. It's going to be held at the Rainbow Push. We're going to be honoring Reverend Jesse Jackson. We're going to be crowning him as an African chief. Very powerful, beautiful ceremony coming up June 4th. You don't want to miss this. We'll play this short clip from what happened in 2019. 2019 is when we started the exchange ceremony. It was a year of return. It was also 400 years. That was when we birthed the concept of the exchange ceremony. So we'll take a quick look at a short clip that we have from 2019, if we do have that clip. Well, we probably will. I'm still working to pull up that clip. In the meantime, Michelle, can we probably look at some of the comments that have come through so far?
Sure, absolutely. So we have Mike LA, great guest. Can't wait to start counting my money. Me either, Mike, me either. We have Barbara RN. Wish they taught financial literacy in schools. Yes, I completely agree with you on that. That is so important. Wow, Rebecca Modi. Wow, that is deep. I think that was in reference to credit, how it can impact your employment status.
Okay, so let's hold on to Rebecca Modi's comment. We'll come back to more comments. Let's take a quick peek at this video. We encourage you all to go to Eventbrite to get your tickets. Right now, it's $40 for regular tickets and VIP 75. You'll be seeing more of this in the days to come. This is going to be the biggest celebration of the African diaspora beauty and our humanity and culture this year in the city of Chicago. And this is going to be done every year. We missed out on 2 years because of COVID, but thank God it's clear now. We will be celebrating our culture every year on now, so that as we do these things, we can begin to bond, heal, and understand the true power of the African culture and our heritage. And so we're looking forward to this beautiful event. Michelle, I am very optimistic, and I know you are too, because you've been working on this.
Very much so.
All right, we'll go back to our comments. Michelle, I think we have a few questions, if you may, please.
So yes, we have Barbara. She said that she has also put her children. She said, I put my children on my credit cards to build their credit score. I think that is such an excellent decision. Kudos to you, Barbara. Timothy Vernon, powerful. Thank you, Timothy. We have Angie Mim. She says, hey, Joe Gathings. And we have Jamil Warren, who says, Jeff is the real deal. I know we do have a question here. Inez Kelly. In reality, every ethnicity has the same issues, spending and living beyond their means. The difference is the safety net and the resources to recover or help sustain. And I know she also had another question. Can they weigh in on the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk and how the Twitter board impact the push to sell? You all have any comments on Elon Musk and the purchase of Twitter?
Before we have you take that, if some people that join the feed I want to recognize. So Irene White, you're watching us. Thank you so much for joining. Selassie Amekuji is also on the feed. There are some names that I'm not able to pull because I kind of refreshed my screen and it kind of went away. So if I did not recognize you, please know that it was an oversight. Godfred Yeboah is also here. Serge Sa just joined us. Serge Sa just joined us, brother. I said I would be talking to you about that conversation we had, so I will follow up with you. Serge Sa is a Cameroonian American who actually came up with a product that would have helped the African community when it comes to life insurance. And because Jeff, you know how when we lose, unfortunately, when we lose someone in the community, we have to always do donations, at the funeral to help raise money. He came up with a concept that was going to mitigate that, but for some reason, I don't know. It's not work. I don't see it working now. But Serge, we have to bring that because that's very important. And Jeff, in the middle, sometime in the short while, I'd like you to talk about life insurance and how significant it is when we're talking about wealth generation and of course generational wealth. Kwatsi Bella is also here. Kwatsi Bella, thank you so much for joining the feed. And Jeanette Barrow is also here. Michelle, you can go. No, I think there was a question on the floor for Joe before I came in. Was there a question for Joe or Jeff?
Jeff. I think it was about what is it? Twitter or something like that.
Oh,
right?
yes. Please, let's go ahead with that. That's very, very important. I was looking forward to that response.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Elon's the man. Elon. Shout out to Elon. I definitely respect him a lot. And I mean, in general, yeah, he's someone that he's basically a revolutionist, number one. And number two, he's someone who fights for what he believes in. Like for example, going to space. He started his own company called SpaceX, which took people to space, and they're looking to do it commercially now, right? He created, formed Tesla, which has the electric vehicles, one of the top 500 companies in the U.S. essentially. And Elon is the richest man in the world, right? Currently, at least today, at least known richest man in the world, right? We don't know who the unknown richest man in the world is, but he's the known richest man in the world. And so with the whole Twitter purchase, I mean, he did buy Twitter. I believe it was like 43 billion or so. Half of it was financed through debt. So, he he got good credit. So with that being said, he was able to get 21 billion or so from debt, you know, like from a bank, and then the other 20 billion or so he's going to take from his Tesla stock, right? So pretty much he's financing the whole deal with no money out of his own pocket. It's just from stocks and from credit, from a loan. And he's basically planning to make Twitter private, a private company, so that he can pretty much dominate the platform. Can you imagine owning an entire social media company? Can you imagine if you own Facebook and it was just you that owned it? I mean, the amount of damage you can do in a good way, of course. I'm sure he has good intentions, right? He did say that he plans to have certain people that were banned right back on Twitter. You know, so it's
Trump is back for sure.
now Trump did say himself he's not getting back on Twitter because he has his own platform. Exactly. He has his own social media platform, not as popular as Twitter, of course. But for Elon to make such a bold move like this, I respect him a lot more. And it lets me know that he wants to fight for something he believes in, which is free speech. And, you know, basically he's saying, hey, to the world, like, yo, like if I want to buy something, I'm going to buy it. And Twitter, the board, the executives were saying, no, we don't want you to buy it. But, you know, money talks. Money always talks. So the right money came to the table and they say, yeah, we'll do it. Why not?
Here is the dichotomy that I want you to help us clear. Debt is not good in a sense, but debt is good technically.
Yeah, I mean, there's good debt and then there's bad debt. Right? Good debt is something that makes you money. Bad debt is something that takes money out of your pocket.
Which is, can you give us examples?
Yeah, great question. Perfect example. And I know, you know, basically you have real estate. When you buy a rental property, let's say you buy a 4-unit building utilizing, let's say, an FHA loan. They even have down payment programs like NACA that allow you to buy a property with zero money out of your pocket, right? So with that, if I go get debt, let's say it's a 4 loan, and I use that, and I'm paying, let's say, $2,000 a month on my mortgage, but I have tenants that are paying me $4,000 a month. Now I'm up $2,000 a month, money that I never would have had I not bought this rental property. So that's good debt. It's putting money into my pocket every single month. And I know Joe will love this as well. And bad debt is, let's say you went and got a luxury yacht, for example, and you couldn't afford it. Number one, you don't even have the house to station the yacht, right? And now all of a sudden, I don't even know how you got the yacht to begin with, right? Because they're going to look at your credit and all that good stuff. But let's just say that's something that's never going to really make you money unless you're someone like Elon Musk, who uses this as entertainment to drive clients perhaps to buy Teslas, right? To, you know, engage in conversations. Now that could be viewed as good debt, but to the average layman, if you're buying a yacht, it's usually a bad debt. It's more for, you know, flashiness. It's basically something you're going to have to pay a note every single month, and it's literally going to drain you financially. And that's where you get what's called lifestyle creep, where as you make more money, all of a sudden you're starting to spend more money, which shouldn't be the case. As you're making more money, you should be saving and investing more money instead.
That what you said is tied into assets and debts. But I still want a little more clarification for those who needs this to be break down literally to the layman's understanding. Joe, when it comes to what Jeff just said, just in terms of bad debt and good debt, again to a layman's understanding, you know, Jeff uses yachts and houses as an example because he's a millionaire, so he talks like that, you know. So I get it. But no, I'm just kidding. But so can you give us you know, literal examples, you know, folks buying 65 or 70-inch TV versus the 55 they already own, that type of examples. Can you help us break it down like that, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much comes down to, right, I think what Jeff was saying was pretty dope, right? Because if you think about it, right, even if it comes down to a car, right, a vehicle, right, unless it's been used for business, is taking money out of your pocket, right? That's a car note, right? So that will be considered another example of a liability. So a liability could be the same as bad debt, right? That's almost like you can kind of look at it like that. Liability, bad debt, same concept, right? It's something that's taking money away from you. So unless that car has been used for like Uber or something like that, then we understand that it is a liability, right? Now it could be beneficial to get you back and forth to work and stuff like that, but
So
that's
that's
just
good debt.
something that's taking you away from, right? It's just taking money out of your pocket. He used the example of the rental, right, which is something that's bringing money in. So when you think about assets and liabilities, that's the same concept as good debt and bad debt. So sometimes even with a TV can be a little different situation because that could be a part of just your life. That could be sometimes TV. Sometimes peace of mind is priceless, right? So sometimes a TV to be able to sit down in front of your family and friends and enjoy your family night, movie night, or something like that, that's kind of priceless, right? So what you want to do is, if it is bad debt, but it comes with that benefit, pay it off fast.
Okay.
Get rid of it.
Okay.
Just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's something that you might need to entertain and have that peace with your family. But like for example,
some people have for their kids, they have, they already have every kid. Let's say they have 3 kids, and every one of them has PS4s. They have flash screens in their TVs.
Yeah.
But then comes tax season. All those TVs will be changed because they're old. They claim maybe they're 2 or 3 years old. We do that. We do these things, right? And so that's those are the things I was trying to refer to.
Prime example, yeah, for sure. Like prime example, even a watch, right? Somebody go finance a Rolex, right? That's not an asset, right? That's a liability, right? But if you can afford it, then that's something totally different, right? But what I'm saying is that somebody got a $15,000-$20,000 Rolex finance. It's taking money out of their pocket. It's not putting money back in. So you got to go make $15,000 when you could have took that $15,000 and then invested it, like Jeff was just talking about, bring you some more income, and then you take the money you earn from the income, and if you decide to go get that. So that's how you want to kind of look at it, right? I like to look at good debt to bring income, and then let that income that I earned off of that good debt cover liabilities. But it's not necessarily me coming out of my pocket and stuff like that, if that makes sense. So you could go get the TVs, you could go get the PlayStation, you could go out and get certain things dressed a certain way, but let it come from something you invested. So my rule is like when I get money, I'm trying, and I'm sure Jeff feel the same way. For me, I pay my tithes and offering and stuff like that. I give to the church and stuff like that, and I put a little bit of money to the side. As an investor, I'm excited about moving this stuff. That's how you get to the point where you're so used to investing and you like, I can't wait to get rid of it. Why? Because I understand that the more I get rid of into investments, that income that I got that brings money for me to be able to go do certain things, aka liabilities, that pile, it kind of extends, if it makes sense, right? I'm making more money now because I keep pushing stuff into assets. It's bringing me more money. So maybe I invest in assets this year, right? With good debt, right? And then now maybe that asset brought me, let's say $700 a month. Let's just start off with something like that, right? I invested to something, right? Some real estate, it brings me $700. Guess what I'm going to do? When I make money, after I pay my tithes and stuff like that, and I put money to the side, I'm excited to do what? Invest again. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out how to get this 700, Jeff, to 1,400. You see what I'm saying? Now, guess what? Now I got 1,400 coming in. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to repeat that cycle. After I get paid, I'm going to do what? I'm going to find more money to do what? Invest, because I'm trying to take that 1,400 a month to 3,500 a month, to 5,000 a month, to 10,000 a month. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So this is what we got to do. We got to get more of our people to understand that, yes, you want to use good debt to go out and get, stuff that's going to bring you money and pile that income up. It may be little in the beginning because you're thinking long term. 200 may not sound like a lot, right? But after you build those piles up and that 200 turn into 23,000, you're like, all right, now that's a big deal. Now I got $23,000 that I don't have to work for. My money is working for that 23,000.
Joe, I have a follow-up question for you. You brought up some, you made very great points, and thank you so much for that.
For sure.
How does, you mentioned tithe and offering and all of that. When we talk about wealth building, credit, generational wealth creation, and all of that, oftentimes I don't think the norm or part of that conversation entails, tithe and offering, like you mentioned. So, Jeff, I know you have these principles, you've had principles in
Mhm.
building your wealth. Now,
Yes, sir.
is tithe giving or just being benevolent with your finances part of wealth creation? Jeff, you want to respond to that, and then I know Michelle probably have a follow up, but if Jeff, after you, we'll have Joe respond, and then maybe Michelle can come into.
Yeah, I mean, I would say tithing, giving back, crucial. It's everything. They say when you give, you receive something back tenfold. So giving back is everything. Even if you only make $100 in a week, you should give at least $10 to a cause. Now, for most people, it's a church, right? Which is perfectly fine. For me, I do the same. I actually met my wife the day I gave tithes to the church for the first time.
Wow.
That's when I had the courage to actually ask her out on a date. So that's how important it is for me. It is literally something that I would never stop doing. And even the greats, the legendary Mansa Musa, part of, people say, oh yeah, he's the wealthiest man that ever lived on the face of this planet. But he was very generous too, very generous. You look at people like Warren Buffett, right? Even Elon Musk, even Jeff Bezos, right? Giving out $2 billion to homeless shelters. I mean, the more you make, the more you should be giving. And even if you don't make a whole lot, you should be giving. And one thing that I really like about books like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, one of the books that changed my life completely, is he always talked about the concept of giving back. And I never really understood it, to be honest. Like, I never really understood for like the first 2 years of reading the book. I actually reread the book and I'm like, man, I just don't get it. Why is this guy giving back so much when he has so little? And he said, no matter who I owed, the first person I gave back to was my church, and the causes that I cared about, because that's what got me through, right? That's what really counts. And I eventually got myself out of the hole. I eventually got myself out of tough situations because I gave back. Because when you give, you will indeed receive at least tenfold. So giving back is everything. It's not about hoarding wealth. It's not about keeping it all. It is about giving it back. You don't want to give away everything, right? You definitely want to keep some, invest some, but I would say use the 10% rule. If you make 100,000, give away 10,000.
Would you say that that contributed to being to your uh, wealth status today? Literally.
Yeah, without a doubt, 1,000%. I mean, I started making more money when I started giving more money.
I heard what's his name, Kanye West say the same thing. I think he said when he started tithing is when he got to the billionaire status. I
Amen
heard
to
that.
that.
Joe, same for you.
Absolutely, man. I just didn't know how deep we can go with this, right? Because earlier, I mean, that is for me, that is the investment. You know what I'm saying? So I know we was talking about investment earlier, tithing and seed and all that stuff. That is the investment. I always tell people I would rather. So like he just said, Jeff just made a perfect example of 10%, right? So here's the thing that I always live. I always tell people, listen, I would rather 90% of my money be blessed than 100% of my money be cursed. So even on a deeper level, I look at it like, okay, so my 10% is really just making sure that I cover any hardships, right? Making sure that this money is just certain laws and principles that's in place, right? To make sure that can't come against this money, right? So now it's like a certain confidence that you walk with. But hands down, like I'm excited, just like I was telling you guys about being excited about, moving the money to make more money. As soon as I get my money, I mean, I open the thing up and I'm just like immediately, I'm excited to move things around, let my accountant know. I want to be a part of getting that money to the church. I don't need my accountant doing. I want to take the money myself, and I want to be able to pass that over, pray over that thing, and thank God for it, because I understand that 100% of this is His. So this is what He allowed me to do. Wake up. He allowed me to read that book. He allowed me to get that mentor. He allowed me to go to work that day. So who am I not to stay here? Here's a 10% for the 100% you gave me. So without a shadow of a doubt, without question, the most important investment that I ever done. Even when I present, I tell people the number one thing that I outside of, like, well, I tell them, because some people always ask, you see what I'm saying? Like, how you felt about the opportunities you made so far, like which, how you feel about the money and stuff. I tell them all the time, hands down, the best investment I've ever made was giving the church, giving to God, and making sure that, I give him all the glory.
Go ahead, Michelle. I don't know if you have.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that great points, gentlemen. It started 2 minutes past 7 p.m. and we have been talking about wealth and credit and wealth building, or wealth and credit building. The same thing. They all tie together. Our guests this evening have been Joe Gathins and Jeff BADU, and of course with my co-host Michelle O'Connard. And so if you want to call into the show, I should have given the number earlier. It's 815-277-5047. 815-277-5047. The number is on the screen right now at the right bottom corner. If you want to share your experience, want to ask a question, and how you actually have been trying to build wealth. And even if you're struggling in that area and need help, please feel free to call again, 815-277-5047. Gentlemen, now we've talked about, we've meddled a little bit into why and the importance of doing this, credit building and wealth and all of that. And this topic can be ongoing all day. However, we want to see how people can literally get started. There may be folks who are listening or will watch this show later and will be wondering, man, I'm hearing all of these things and they sound good, but where do I start? Where do I begin? And so they can come to, of course, Jeff, they can come to you, Joe. But Joe, let's begin with you. How do someone literally start getting out of debt or get themselves out of debt, period?
So you get out of debt?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the first thing, so what we have is this thing, and of course, guys, we can exchange information, whatever we got to do. But what we have is a debt payoff program, and what it does, it pretty much is an app. You put your information in, and what it does, it organizes your debt, and it tells you what to pay first, second, and third, so you feel good about it. Another concept, right? Let's say if somebody doesn't come to me directly, whatever, don't come to us directly, then what they can do is, I really enjoy the snowball effect, right? So having your, like, for example, credit cards and stuff like that, right? So let's say you got 3 credit cards, right? I like the snowball effect where basically let's say you got 3 credit cards, right? One is 5,000, another one is 10,000, then one is say 20,000. So sometimes, quite naturally, you'll try to attack the 20,000 one, but the snowball effect basically says, listen, let's go attack the smaller amount first, right? Because we got to gain some financial confidence, right? So I'll go after this 5,000. So what I'll do is I'll figure out how much money can I duplicate every single month, right? To put it to this $5,000, right? So let's say if I know for a fact and I can invest $1,000. I'm just giving you guys a little flow. If I can invest, just say if I can invest $1,000 extra towards this 5,000 a month, right? So what I'll do is I got that $1,000 and I'm going to put it towards the 5,000. But what I'm going to do is on the $10,000 credit card and then on the $20,000 credit card, I'm going to pay what's called the minimum balance. Okay, I'm going to pay the minimum balance because I'm trying to gain some financial confidence, right? I'm trying to move forward with a swag in a sense, right? I want to feel good about the process. So now what I've done is after 5 payments, right? Now I still got the same $1,000 plus, right, what I was putting into the second credit card. Because remember, I'm done with the first credit card now. I feel good. I feel great. I got some confidence, right? So now what I'm going to do is I still got the same budget. I'm just going to take all that money I was putting on the first credit card and I'm going to transfer it over to the second credit card. Now for to start working on the $10,000 credit card. But I will not lower my balance because I'm accustomed. Y'all got to understand it, right? You're accustomed to paying a certain amount of money already. So you don't stop paying the money. You take the money you were paying on the first card plus the minimum balance of the second card and add that together. So let's say your minimum balance on that second credit card was, let's say, $300 a month. So what you're going to do, you're going to take the $1,000 plus the $300 and you're going to put $1,300 towards that $10,000 debt, right? That credit card or whatever. And then what you're going to do, you're going to pay the minimum balance on the $20,000, right? Don't try to spread yourself too thin because you're not really eating up a lot of momentum trying to just balance all this stuff off. 500 here, 500 there. No, don't do it like that. You got to have tunnel vision. You got to have like you got to see one thing being going at a time. So now on the second credit card, 1,300. So now you know what, 1,300 on a $10,000 credit card. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pay that one off. So remember, 1,300 on the second credit card, minimum balance on the 20,000. So now I do what? I pay the second credit card off. Guess what I got? I got more confidence now. I'm feeling better about the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same rhythm. I'm going to take that 1,300 plus, let's say on this $20,000 credit card, let's say you was paying $4 something a month. I'm just giving you guys an example, right? You take the $4 something a month plus the 1,300. Now you got $1,700 and something dollars, right? Let's say 1,800 now going towards what? The 20,000. All of your focus now on this last $20,000. Some of you guys don't even got that much debt. I'm just using it as an example. So some of you guys can pay debt off in 6 months, 7 months if you just had a strategy of taking all the money plus the minimum balance, paying off one credit card. Take that money plus the minimum balance and move it to the second credit card plus that minimum balance and knock that down, right? And then now you got the snowball effect. Before you know it, you got one card to pay off, one loan to pay off, and all of your focus going there, but you're accustomed because you've been dishing out all this money. You take all that money together and knock that credit card off faster, and now you're done. And then now you do what Jeff was just talking about earlier. Now you're accustomed to all that money spending. Now what you do? Don't stop the habit. Now you take that money and you invest it because you're already accustomed to doing what? Paying debt off. You take that money, you invest it. You take that money, start paying yourself, start stacking your money up as well. And now you got the combination. Just remember, guys, keep the habit. Because that's the most important thing. We can talk numbers all day long. Just keeping the habit of being disciplined, doing what you say you was going to do. That's how you pay the debt off according to your routine. So that's kind of a snowball effect. I know it's different ways you could do it, but that's how I knocked off. I literally paid $100,000 in debt in 8 months.
Wow.
Well, and that also depends on your income, right? Because so
and that's what I'm saying, making sure. That's why we gotta make sure that everybody understand that whatever you decide to pay is that's you. It may be 500. I was just using 1,000 as an example. It's got to be whatever you feel like I could duplicate. It may be an extra 300 a month. 300 plus the minimum balance. Now there's 300 plus the minimum balance, and then the other two credit cards minimum.
Guys. No, sorry. I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't want I didn't want to interrupt. It's 40 minutes past 7 p.m. What I want to do is have you guys give your information out to how people can reach out, because again, somebody may want to, hey, how can I get help? So let's do that now, and then we can continue with the conversation. So, Joe, somebody wants to get help. Someone wants to get out of this. What does your company do, and how can you help them, and how can they get in touch?
Well, to get in touch with me, right, the best way I feel like that you can get me, because now you can kind of be a part of the community. We can all grow together. I give gems, like Jeff said, like we do videos and stuff like that. I mean, I drop a lot of tips and stuff like that on my page. Also, which we do events and stuff throughout the country, so people come too.
First of all, if you say we do events, who does an event? Like we
do events. So we have a financial literacy movement, right?
There
so
you go.
If you see the sign behind us, it's go-getters, right? So our movement, what we do is you figure you got this ship, right? You got 6 and 7 figure income earners, debt-free and things like that, all rotating from different states, different cities, and we putting together financial literacy events, right? Sometimes we're doing them hotels, sometimes we're doing them event space. So this is just coming out for free. Getting free game, understanding what we do, understanding how we get back to the kids, the donations and stuff like that. But you're getting free game, and then you have a choice on the back end of that to do it yourself or allow us to do it for you. But at least you come and you get game. So by following me, I'm gonna give you my Instagram. So now by following me, you'll know, hey, we're in your city this week, or we'll be there next month. But also in route of, you get to get motivation, inspiration. I share a lot of testimonies, a lot of stories. I go live a lot. Because I believe success leaves clues. So we ain't just talking about it. We can show you an extensive group of people that actually can say, hey, I've done this. This is what it's done for me. This is what it's doing for me. I no longer work a job. I am debt free now. So we got that type of flow. So guys, it's just Joe _ Gathings. And then once you put Joe _ Gathings, it's gonna pop up right? I'm going to pop up. What you do is you go to the page that got the 200,000 plus follows, right? That's the one that I spend my time on, right? Every other page, y'all know how people be out here making all these fake pages, right? Just go to the page that got 200, I think it's like 225,000 followers. That's me. Okay. So, and then what you can do is you can go on there, and if you got any questions, you can go right in and DM me. All you got to do is mention this show, and I'm going to come right in and I'm going to do whatever I can to serve you, right? To make sure. So that will be probably the best way, because now what that is, that brings you in the community, because you may not need everything now, but I'll educate you in route of, and you may need me later, right? You may need something. So Joe _ Gathings, and then go to the on Instagram, go to the page that has a 200 followers, 225,000 followers. That's kind of the best way.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jeff, you've been serving the community with your company, and can you give us, again, for those who don't know you, how they can get in touch with you, what you provide, and how you can literally get people into that wealth creation status that we're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I would say definitely appreciate you for having me on the show. So I run a company called BADU Enterprises LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. And what we do is we provide a suite of financial services, including our marquee company, our number one company, which is BADU Tax Services. What we do there is we do tax preparation, planning, and representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the U.S. And we also have clients in over 25 countries at the moment. We also have my real estate investment company, right? We have our life insurance. We actually run a life insurance and health insurance now company as well. And then we have the BADU Foundation that teaches financial literacy to the kids ages 6 to 18 on topics such as budgeting, saving, investing, and scholarships. To get a hold of me, real simple. Number one way is my website, which is jeffbadu.com, jeffbadu.com. That's jeffbadu.com. You can check out the infinite resources on that website. And then there's also a contact me section at the bottom of the page. You can catch me on social media at jbadu32, jbadu32 on Instagram and Twitter. And then Facebook, you can search my name, Jeff Badu. I'll be more than happy to help you. And my email address is jeffbadu@gmail.com. Once again, that's jeffbadu@gmail.com. But the website, jeffbadu.com, is the best site where you can find books such as these, such as the Infinite Expansion book.
Let's see. Can we take a look again?
Yes, sir. This is the Infinite Expansion book. A book about my life story, my purpose in life, and also the part 2 called The Super Hungry just came out. This is on Amazon, so it's 2 parts to the book. This is the first part, and then we have the Super Hungry book on Amazon now as well.
Wow. We have this comment just came through. Jeff is the real deal, incredibly helpful to anyone who asks. Thank you, James Parker, for your contribution. This is from Stacy Afriye Ejimine. Good technique to paying off the debts. Very helpful information. Thank you, Stacia Afriye, for your contribution. And this is from Johnny Woods. Minorities should be encouraged to invest no matter how little their income. That is a very important one. Invest. And if you don't know how to do it, you have people who can help you out. Jeff is here. Joe Gathins is here. And there are a few others out there. But you have to make sure you're dealing with the right person. And so definitely do your research. Michelle, we've had a great conversation so far.
Yes, we have. I do have a question for you, gentlemen. What advice would you give to people to raise their credit scores over the next 30 days? What helpful tips can you give?
Well, me personally, what I would do is the first thing I would do is just like we just talking about adding, right, additional history to your credit profile. So what I would do personally is I'll try to figure out like if my grandmom accidentally had a 750 credit score. You know what I'm saying? Because she just was disciplined, but she didn't understand credit. So what I would do is I'll find out, right, who's in your family that already has some type of, like, somebody close to you that you know you could reach out to that already have some type of, credit history going already, maybe on a credit card or something like that, right? So maybe what you were going to do for your kids that we were talking about earlier, they could do for you, right? So they could slap you on their credit cards, and now you could piggyback, right, off of that to gain some type of momentum, right? It could be 60, 80, 90, whatever kind of points come from that. But also, what I would do is I would go through what we call the credit restoration process, which is getting rid of the negative items, right? Because it's two parts to credit. You got part one, taking things off, getting rid of the dirt, right? Medical bills, student loans, repossessions, foreclosures, bankruptcy, things like that. Those are all things that's pulling you down. And I'm sure Jeff can, relate to this, right? And just understanding that, guys, we can add as many positive accounts all day long. But if this negative side is pulling you backwards, you'll never maximize the opportunity. So yes, you want to go ahead and add some positive history on there so you can start, leveraging whatever you can. But at the same time, you want to start disputing. You want to start getting rid of negative items off your credit report like yesterday, right? Going through the process of elimination. And that's something we can help you guys with, but also at the same time, you can go through the process yourself, getting you some letters, developing your strategy, and then going out to get those negative items deleted. And then another tip, like for example, and once again, you guys can text me with this so I can give you guys the exact locations and stuff like that. But if you're a renter right now, if you're paying rent right now, that's another positive trade line that you add on your credit report. Think about it. We can actually backtrack up to 24 on-time payments that you're paying for anyway. If you're paying rent already, somebody is getting 60, 80, 90 points on something that you're not getting. So what I would recommend is that adding that rental history on your credit report, and that can hit your credit report between 15 and 30 days. So look what we've done already. We've
How do we do that
from your parents, huh?
How do we do that exactly? Like, do you report it to the credit bureau to say, hey, I'm paying this bill? Or I know like Experian has Experian Boost. You may not be familiar with that, but like, is there a different way to do it for like TransUnion and the other credit bureaus as well?
Well, I know it's a program that we offer, right? That you can, like, that's why I'm saying you can come through me and mention this, you know what I mean? And then what I could do is I could tell you, what we offer, and then you have a choice. You could backtrack 6 months, you could backtrack a year, you could backtrack 2 years, just however long you've been staying there. And now you're talking about, just imagine within 15 to 30 days, you got 24 on-time payments hitting your credit report. Imagine if your grandparents, somebody that that got great history, imagine them slapping an additional trade line or positive account on your credit report. That can also hit you within 30 to 45 days. You got two accounts that can really help you go to the next level. But to maximize that, we have to go and get rid of the negative items. And that's the credit repair process. All right. So that's something that we can help you guys out as well. So just inboxing me and just mentioning this, guys, we'll jump right on it and be able to help you guys for sure. That's my immediate. So Jeff, whatever you got, man.
Jeff, if someone just texted me, I was just reading this. If someone gets a name change, or they marry and take up, the last name of their spouse, does that affect their credit? If they don't report it, do they have to call the credit bureaus? How does that affect their credit going forward?
I mean, it doesn't really affect. I mean, they will find out, right?
Because the thing is, let's say you're Jeff BADU and now you were Jeff Kwame,
right?
And you're purchasing stuff. You have things in Jeff Kwame. How does that, does it automatically connect to Jeff BADU? Do they figure it out, or you have to?
Yeah, as soon as somebody runs your credit under that new name, I mean, they will immediately find out.
Okay.
And they'll put it on your credit profile.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So these credit.
So they don't have to call the credit bureau to do that personally.
No, I mean they could. I mean they could, but trust me, they will get to know immediately.
Okay. Great. Great response. I just wanted to get a few more comments that came through. This is from she said, I learned a lot. Kwati Bella. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say also, my bad, Jeff. I forgot about this. You guys can also do what Jeff was just talking about. Start paying your credit cards down now. Your utilization has a huge factor when it comes down to your credit. So if you guys got anything over 30%, that's automatically, I mean, you could lose 80, 90 points just off of having too much of your credit card being used already. So think about it. I'm giving you guys like 100 some points right here, adding two accounts and paying your credit cards down. So what I like to do is I like to tell all my clients, pay it down to about 3%. 2%, just because you want a little bit on there to tweak every single point, right? So getting it under 10% is crazy. I mean, it's amazing. So paying your credit cards down until it's under at least 10%, so you can maximize that, right? I know a lot of times you guys hear 30%. 30% is for people who already got good credit and you just not trying to hurt it. Right? It's not like I'm not trying to damage it. And I'm not really helping it. But when you're trying to build it, you got to take that thing down to 3%. You got to take that thing down to 2%. You want to take that thing down to 1%, get it under 10%. Now there could be another 60, 70 points. You add the trade lines we just talked about earlier, that's another 60, 70 points. Y'all follow what I'm saying? You got a nice flow going right here, guys, while you also waiting on the negative item to be removed.
Wow. Great information, Joe. Thank you so much for helping this show helping this show to impact the community as we've always wanted. The two of you talked about how important it is that you give to your church, and you also give to other charitable organizations, right? Okay. I'm happy to announce to you that the Progressive Minds is a 501c. So you should add that to your giving charitable company. No, so we're not for profit 501c, and this is an announcement we make all the time on our show, that we need a community to support us so we can week in, week out bring you these impactful topics and conversations that we want to be bringing your way. On that note, you can go on our website, theprogressivemindshow.com or thepmsshow.com, and support us. Thank you for doing so. And 6 minutes to the end of tonight's episode, we would like to close it. If you have a last comment or a phone call into the show to ask a question or share your story, 815-277-5047. The gentlemen are on social media. If you Google Jeff BADU, his social media pops up. You can reach out to him. Joe Gathins just gave his social media information as well. Michelle, you want to help us run this, get the show to a good closing?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you again, gentlemen, for being so generous with your knowledge and practical applications. I know y'all don't know me, but I'm a copious note taker. So I've been taking notes this whole time. Just always always wanting to improve. And I'm sure a lot of people out there feel the same. And I don't think we can really get enough of this topic. It's so very important. So thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us tonight.
Thank you, guys. This is from Angie. She says, yes, let's connect on Mrs. On this, Mrs. Okay. Angie, I'm not sure which. Okay, so thank you, Angie Mims, anyway, for your comments. Great show. It's been very informative. Thank you all. Stacia Efrie Ejuman, thank you for your comment and your contribution. One thing we always say is that these are very important conversations, and we are known for the community building platform, and community takes all of us. And so when we have these conversations, we hope that as you listen and watch and get some tips from this, you can also pass it on to your friend and family member who may have missed it. It's Wednesday, 6 p.m. So we get it. And a lot of people are not able to come on around this time, but when you share it, they're able to catch on later. It's of course on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter as well. So we really want to appreciate you all for your comments and your contributions so far. Gentlemen, it's been a great show. We will have you close us. Let's begin with Joe Gathins.
First off, man, I want to once again give honor to God for this amazing platform, for the time, for the wisdom. Anything that I'm giving you guys is just something was given to me, right? Through prayer, through mentorship and things like that. I'm just somebody that just kind of went on a mountaintop and kind of looked down and like, come on, It's all good over here, right? So I want to give it back to you guys as well for having a platform, having a heart to just want to give to people in such a way. I mean, Jeff, this is $1 million worth of game right here, right? If everybody just take it. So my final advice is I always recommend this for anybody, right? First, you hear, right? You literally listen, right, to everything that somebody's telling you, right? So take this information. That was you listening, right? And then what you want to do is I always tell people meditate on it. Right? Meditate on the notes, like what she was just talking, Michelle, taking notes, meditate on the notes, and then figure out how to apply this to your life. And then guess what you want to do? The final thing is going to always be take action now, immediately. If you have that strategy for the rest of your life, you're gonna get ahead so fast because you immediately you listening, you're meditating on the information to figure out how to apply it to your life. Right? Sometimes you got to tweak some stuff according to your lifestyle. And then I promise you, if you just do what most people don't do, take action now, it's over, man. So that's kind of my piece, man. It's just an honor for me to get on here and serve, man. It's been a blessing, man. So I just wish everybody best, and man, see you guys at the top.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, I would say definitely appreciate Alinco for having me. Appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you, Joe, for the great advice, great conversation. And yeah, I mean, I would say when it comes to the wealth building game, it is about habits, and it is about having a burning desire to really want greatness, right? You have to really want it. Nobody's gonna want it more than you do. So you always want to educate yourself. Education is very important. You want to establish good habits, good rituals when it comes to money and wealth building. And as long as you do that, you will become one of the wealthiest people on the planet, right? It's so simple in a way that as long as you follow the blueprint, as long as you have good habits, as long as you have good rituals in place, you will be wealthy. There's no choice. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, you might slip up every moment here and then, but on a long-term basis, you reflect on that and say, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this, right? Let me go this route. Let me go and buy this property because I know what it can do for me. And when I learned the wealth building game, I got extremely excited. And I say, you know what, I need to teach this to other people because that's what's going to help the world. And that's why my purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle.
Jeff BADU, thank you so much. This last comment is coming from Ida Abraha. Thank you. It's very important to start saving at any level. Ida Abraha, we will be doing that show on the situation going on in Ethiopia. We'll be doing that. We'll make sure we carry that show, talk about that situation on this platform. This coming Sunday, we will be talking about domestic violence and mental health. So join us at 4 p.m. on this platform. We want to remind all our audience that June 4th, save the date and watch out for the space for more information regarding June 4th, the exchange ceremony at Rainbow Push. And again, it's going to be a beautiful honor for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who has stood in the gap and who represents for us as Africans a chief and an elder, and everything that we ascribe to our chiefs and elders. He represents that, and we want to honor him in a very traditional African traditional way, a very special way, come June 4th. So mark your calendar, June 4th, 4 p.m. at Rainbow Push. And again, you can go to the Progressive Mind Show website for more information regarding this. We are very grateful to all of you who have contributed to this show, and we want to thank Michelle Okenard, our co-host, Joe Gathins, Jeff BADU once again for making this one a big and informative one. We're looking forward to seeing you next week, Wednesday, actually this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. on the same platform. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Bye-bye.